Rich enough, I don't have to work anymore in my life, so it's like not crucial. It's like asking if I prefer blondes to brunettes or black hair, you know. They all have their charm.
Насолоджуючись атмосферою, людьми, культурою.
Привit and greetings from Odessa in the spring of 2026. It's probably not what you're expecting to see here. People out enjoying the nice weather. Winter is over. It's a particularly harsh winter, the winter of 2025, even by Ukrainian standards. And many people, not millions, but many people are going to be considering coming to Ukraine in the next year. It could be to support the defense effort here, to help with the humanitarian situation, to come and visit and support Ukraine in this difficult time that we've had since the 2022 invasion. And you're going to need to know where to go and what experience you can expect when you come here. So I'm going to outline my point of view on 5 cities in Ukraine. I filmed a lot of it in the summer of 2025 to give you a view on what to expect in the summer of 2026 if you are coming to Ukraine. Also outlined a little bit about who should come and who should probably wait until this war is over. So, let's go. Ходімо. So here in Odessa, like in most of Ukraine, we do have curfew between midnight and 5 a.m. There is one exception, that's the Kharkiv Oblast in the extreme west of Ukraine. And the curfew here in 2026 in Odessa so far is pretty strict. You cannot be outside on the street after midnight without good reason. And as a result, the cafes, bars, and shops, they do close before 11 o'clock in the evening in general to respect that curfew. Also, you will have air alerts. You can go and download an app to be notified of them on your phone. Also, there are Telegram channels for you to understand better which is the threat level every time you hear an air alert. So whilst the statistical probability of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, if Russia fires a kamikaze drone or a rocket, it's very low. When I look at it, these AIs, it says it's around 1 in a million per day here in a big city like Odessa or in Kyiv. Should be cognizant of maybe the psychological impact of hearing explosions and maybe seeing fires. I'm actually just beside or in front of the Odessa Cathedral that was hit actually a couple of summers ago by Russia, and they hit the cupola and damaged the roof and the interior. That's been refurbished and now reopened from what I can see. So just be aware of that. So it's definitely not for everybody. It's not for really a passive tourist or someone who's coming here without doing their research. Clearly you have to understand the context in which you are coming, but it is definitely for investors in Ukraine who want to get ahead, get that first mover advantage, particularly in the agricultural, defense, and real estate sectors here in Ukraine. There's a lot of interest in those, and people want to come here and obviously support Ukraine in its time of need. So people are going to help with the humanitarian effort or the military effort in some capacity, and just coming here and spending your money and supporting Ukraine through your social media already will help the cause here and give you a real reason to be here. Of course, there are many lifestyle arbitrage opportunities because the cost of living is a lot lower in Ukraine, or just the cost overall, especially with so little international tourism, whether it's getting a nice hotel or renting an Airbnb, or the prices in the shops, going to nice restaurants and cafes. All this normal life does go on in Ukraine in spite of the war. Those are some other advantages to keep in mind when considering coming here in 2026. I have my insider's guide to Ukraine during this Russo-Ukrainian war. It is available to purchase down below via the link in the description to this video. Inside, you're going to get a lot of information about the history, logistical information, how to stay as safe as possible, with the obvious caveat that this is the country in Europe with the biggest war on the continent since World War II. And you also get my hospitality guide so that when you come here, you just save a huge amount of your precious time when looking for what are my favorite cafes, bars, restaurants, shisha lounges, and even the odd nightclub. That is available as part of my insider's guide for cities like Lviv, here in Odesa, Kyiv, the capital, Uzhhorod, and Chernivtsi. Добре, привіт, Діана.
Привіт.
Де ми зараз?
Ми зараз в Одесі.
І як вайб в Одесі зараз?
Зараз дуже теплий весінній вайб, дуже чекали цього тепла. Зараз місто прокидається, більше людей на прогулянках, все зеленіє, тому зараз чудово.
Супер. І де буде найкраще місто в Україні?
По вайбу,
по вайбу.
Якщо казати про туризм, я, мабуть, рекомендувала більше захід України, Львів або Карпати. Карпати – це більш про природу, про гори, про відпочинок за містом. А якщо хочете якось дізнатись більше, відчути міський вайб України, то краще Львів, Ужгород, Київ та Одесу. Але якщо обирати Київ, Одесу чи Харків, треба враховувати реалії війни і не нехтувати сигналами про повітряну тривогу та враховувати можливі труднощі з логістикою та відключенням світла, якщо вони будуть, таке тут теж можливо.
І для іноземець, де буде найкраще місто? Тому що подорожувати в Україні не легко зараз, або ні. Це легко. Що ти думаєш?
Я вважаю, що зараз можна подорожувати в Україну, якщо ви готові до неспокійного відпочинку, тому що немає ніяких гарантій безпеки зараз, але тим не менш можна відчути вайб країни і побачити архітектуру, познайомитися з людьми, навіть під час війни, тому що українці все ще тут залишаються, живуть своїм життям, радіють життю. Тому, якщо ви вперше в Україні, мабуть, варто приїхати більш у західні міста – Івано-Франківськ, Львів, Ужгород, Карпати, як я вже казала раніше. Але якщо ви не боїтесь і просто готові до деяких можливих труднощів, я б рекомендувала Одесу, тому що тут колорит міста, взагалі неймовірне море. Я думаю, що цього літа тут буде також дуже розвинений туризм, як і минулого літа. Не дивлячись на війну, всі українці, навіть іноземці, відвідують Одесу. Також Київ, там буває більш спокійно, але час від часу.
So here in Lviv, you can see the old world atmosphere and architecture. This city has been in many kingdoms and empires over the years, and it's left its mark in terms of the architecture and the local culture. It's located in western Ukraine, near to the border with Poland. It's considered the cultural heartland of Ukraine, and it also has a thriving cafe culture. So this is the main point of entry as a city for foreigners or even Ukrainians returning home when you come here to Ukraine. And it's a very welcoming city. It's a relatively safe place to come to at the moment, relative obviously to cities that are closer to Russia. This is more or less almost the furthest city away from a Russian border, or when we have Belarusian border, but that is not super close either. And the city is also a big tourist destination, especially on the weekend, for Ukrainians who will come down from Kyiv or other cities in Ukraine to enjoy the more relaxed atmosphere here in the city of Lviv. It's an absolute gem of a place with lots of things to do, lots of history, lots of architecture, churches, museums, opera. I think that's probably the most notable landmark in the city nowadays is the Lviv Opera House. It is still operating, so you can go and watch an opera there or go to the theater in the city. There's lots going on. And outside of curfew and obviously the occasional Russian rocket attacks on this city, It is an oasis of calm in these days of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Ukraine's pulsating capital city, Kyiv, still remains a very attractive location to visit, and really a must-see on a trip to Ukraine, in particular around the Maidan Square, where you had the Orange Revolution in 2004 and the Euromaidan Revolution 2013, beginning of 2014, and there you have some poignant memorials set up to those who have paid the ultimate price in defending this country's sovereignty. You have, of course, the fantastic, beautiful architecture like in the Pecherska Lavra or St. Sophia's Cathedral, and the Podil area in particular has that more bohemian feel with the cafe culture. So Kyiv is still a metropolis that is vibrant, and in fact the population of Kyiv is estimated to have already recovered. A lot of Ukrainians left in 2022 and a lot of people came from further east, so it is still the biggest city in the country and definitely the heart of Ukrainian intelligentsia and resistance, and a really, really important city to visit and to understand this country on a trip. Odesa Mama, the main tourist mecca, especially in 2025 in Ukraine, as so many local people come from other cities to enjoy the seaside. We got this fantastic weather. It's already in September when I am filming this clip. You got the Odesa Opera House just behind me, and that represents the contrast between the gritty maritime backdrop to Odesa and this amazing, mainly 19th century architecture. And just down this way we have the famous Potemkin stairs. In early 20th century cinema, this was immortalized in Sergei Eisenstein's battleship Potemkin, and this city still maintains its attractions for being cosmopolitan, fun with the seaside, and the local wit and humor of its resilient denizens. So, Odesa Mama, still open for business, still a phenomenal city to come and visit. Добре. І літом тут в Одесі як буде? Як буде атмосфера, що треба робити? Як турист, як
Я думаю, що Одеса буде жити життям наповну, тому що вже я бачу підготовку до сезонів, заклади починають готувати, пляжі починають готувати до сезону. Я думаю, тут буде також багато вечірок, гумору, відкритих людей, але все ж таки варто враховувати реалії, і якщо ви плануєте орендувати житло, а не готель, варто подивитися, чи є в будинку генератори на випадок вимкнення світла.
Добре. І ти бачиш багато туристів в Одесі, в Харкові зараз або нема?
Я помітила, що за останній рік стало більше іноземців з азійських культур, країн. Також, в принципі, більше стало іноземців, тому що, наприклад, ще декілька років тому я не зустрічала взагалі тут нікого, майже всі, кого я знала, і іноземці, і українці. Турист повертається до України.
Так. Це літо буде цікаве.
Так, я вважаю, що буде цікавим, і все-таки люди живуть і радіють життю, незважаючи на обставини і реалії, в яких ми живемо.
Добре. Ти скажеш, що життя тут літом є війна, але може жити.
Та, звичайно, так. Тут життя буде вирувати. Я вважаю, що якщо не враховувати обстріли, які тут бувають час від часу, я не можу сказати, чи вони будуть влітку, чи буде їх багато, чи ні, все-таки це не можна спрогнозувати. Але не дивлячись на це, тут буде життя на максимум, і свою відпустку чи вихідні ви можете провести в Одесі, насолоджуючись атмосферою, людьми, культурою.
Все. І пляж буде відкритий.
Так.
Так, біч-клаб.
Біч-клаб буде відкритий 100%. Вечірінки, які будуть? Ну, я не знаю стосовно цього літа, але в Одесі 100% буде щось на пляжі Ібіца. Хайдер, можливо. В Канаді і в центрі 100% щось буде, тому що минулі роки, 24-25 рік, вечірки тут відбувались, не дивлячись на війну. І в мене друзі приїжджали із-за кордону, із інших міст України для того, щоб відпочити в Одесі.
Супер.
Тож,
Дуже дякую. Я
да,
думаю,
да.
що це
Будь ласка,
добре.
приїжджайте.
Так.
Одеса зустріне з відкритими обіймами та колоритом і гумором, як завжди.
Окей, супер. So the university behind me has been dubbed Hogwarts University from the Harry Potter series, and you can see the similarity. I am in the city of Chernivtsi, perhaps a place you've never heard about before, even though I consider it almost like the hidden gem of Ukrainian architecturally speaking. Fantastic city. It is known, or was known at one point, as Little Vienna. That gives you an indication also as to some of the history of the city. It was the most easterly city in the Austrian Empire at one stage, and it also was part of Romania in the interbellum period. So you see those vestiges in the city's architecture. This is the crown jewel, the University of Chernivtsi. At one point, the city had a real interesting mix, being split almost evenly between Ukrainians, Germans, Jews, and Romanians. Lots of famous authors and entertainment people came from those different communities born here. Just to give you some examples, you've got Paul Celan, who wrote in German. Mila Kunis, you may have seen her and be aware of her. She's actually born in this city, although of course she's famous for being an actress in English in her adopted US of A. And these different cultures have left a huge impact on the cuisine, the architecture, and the mix of people that you will come across here in Chernivtsi. So definitely this is one of the most interesting cities. I've come here several times and made some vlogs here, and in 2025 it is one of the safer cities, shall we say, in the country. It is rarely targeted by Russia, up until now at least. And that is very similar to the story with neighboring Uzhhorod, which is nestled basically between the Hungarian and Slovak borders. Here in Chernivtsi, we are near to the Romanian and Moldovan borders, so quite similar there in Uzhhorod. It's also a city that has been part of other countries of past, like the Austro-Hungarian Empire in particular. It's part of the Hungarian part, and it has definitely a more Central European vibe in terms of the architecture and its populace, and also acts as a gateway into Ukraine. It is now very popular with foreigners who want to come here and spend some time, because you can get acclimated in a safer part of the city, and it's a safer part of the country, and it is also close to the border, so you can come from either Hungary or Slovakia. As with Chernivtsi, you can come from either Moldova or Romania quite quickly, and it is also a city that has very pleasant atmosphere and also a hodgepodge of different cultural influences are in the architecture. So those are the two cities that are less known in Ukraine, but becoming more popular, I would say, because of the relative safety, and also they have very interesting architectures. Smaller cities, so not going to be as big as Lviv or Kyiv or Odesa. However, they do have their own particular charm, old world architecture, and really nice places to be an introduction to coming here to Ukraine. So I have some additional resources to help you with being more informed about lifestyle here in Ukraine. I have a back catalog of city and regional vlogs that I shot over the years. I think it's the most extensive catalog here on YouTube. I'll link that up above in a card and down below in the description. You can select the different cities that you're interested in getting a better, at least, glimpse into what it was like before 2022, and some of them are more current. Additionally, I have a playlist for people who are considering moving to Ukraine. It's up here on a card as well, also down below in the description. Got lots of great videos there that will help you with making the decision about whether to come to Ukraine or how to do it if you've made that decision. That might seem, I understand, strange for many viewers of this video who would actually be considering moving to Ukraine. However, I recently had a client here with me. We went to a few cities in Ukraine that I featured in this video, Chernivtsi, Lviv, and we actually went to neighboring Moldova, to Chisinau, and then down here to Odesa, Mama. Actually got the Potemkin stairs right behind me, one of the city's landmarks that I featured in all those vlogs over the years. So do have people that I'm now helping, call it the New Europe Experience. I've rebranded it from its previous name, and the link to that, the application form, is down below in the description. Also have another playlist that deals with the alternative cities to Ukraine that I help my clients with, because since 2022 and this invasion, that is what I've been primarily focused on. So there you're going to see that I go to Riga in Latvia, also been with clients to neighboring Lithuania, Kaunas and Vilnius, also been to neighboring Estonia and Tallinn, got some other videos from there as well on this channel. Bring my clients to Warsaw in Poland, which is like the capital basically of this region I've dubbed New Europe, which is the region between Germany and Russia. I only focus on a handful of countries from that region, but Warsaw is definitely the most prominent nowadays. Also, as I did with my client, I actually decided that he might want to move to Ukraine and take advantage of the fact that so few foreigners are trying to come at the moment, in expectation of things being safer in the future, less violent, and that this war will come to some sort of resolution at a certain point. So we went to Chisinau, Moldova, and I also bring my clients all the way over to the Central Asian steppes, to Kazakhstan, Almaty. That is the main city that I go to there. It's an absolutely phenomenal place, just incredibly beautiful with lots of friendly Kazakhstanis. Yes, Kazakhstan has some territory in Europe, and it just about fits into the definition of being a European country. It has obviously cultural influences from Europe and also from other parts of Asia. So that is how I've been helping the bulk of my clients, nearly all of my clients, since 2022 and this invasion with the alternative cities. And you can see those vlogs on that card by going to the playlist and getting a sample of that. However, as I have just concluded bringing a client here to some cities in Ukraine, and he was super curious and he wanted to come here with the insider, as I'm known as by my clients from over the years, it was definitely eye-opening to see that there are people that still are considering coming here, maybe not immediately, maybe it's coming in the future, and want to experience it at the moment. So if you're one of those people, you can also apply via the same application form that is down below in the description to this video. And if it's the right fit, we will jump in a strategic call and we will discuss whether we will work together and come here, maybe even to Ukraine or to the alternatives. There are, of course, clearly differences in the experience to going to a city like Chisinau, just up the road, and coming here with the obvious things that I've outlined in this video in terms of Russian tax, even on a city like Odesa or Lviv or Chernivtsi or another city in Ukraine that is not near the front lines. And also, just to re-emphasize that we have curfew, so there will not be the same nightlife experience as I have with the alternative cities. However, there are still people socializing here, and there are still bars, restaurants, clubs, shisha lounges open that obviously have to respect the curfew laws. So bear that in mind. It is going to be a different experience, and it is clearly not for everybody to come here to Ukraine with this current situation. However, if you are one of those people, then definitely feel free to reach out to me and we will see if we can make it work. And in general, basically, I help my clients with living their dream lifestyle here in the region. So I have a background as a lawyer, so dealing with all the legal stuff in terms of getting the right person for if you want to get a visa and move here, maybe citizenship, obviously buying real estate, maybe investing in business. Here in Ukraine, as outlined, you've got the defense industry, which is one of the industries that is doing particularly well relative to everything else during this war. You're going to have the cultural integration. I have over 10 years of experience in this region. I have an encyclopedic knowledge and know-how about how to deal with the different cultural nuances in the respective countries, and in particular here in Ukraine. And of course, as I'm probably best known for, is the relationship of ice. This is the region of the world with some of those beautiful women and may have the same or similar values or the values that you are looking for. So we deal with all those different elements. We won't be coming alone as Billy Nomads, in particular the Ukraine, with everything going on. I would recommend that you come with the Insider. So once again, the application form, the link to that is down below in the description.
Навіть Харків. Я ось Пасху збираюсь провести в Харкові. Там, не дивлячись на війну, все ще дуже чисто, дуже привітні люди. І тому раджу відвідати будь-які з цих міст, вважаючи ваші потреби.
І Харків не буде дуже небезпечно зараз, недалеко зараз є.
Я думаю, що Харків наразі по небезпечності такий, як і Одеса, тому що обстріли шахедами та ракетами відбуваються час від часу, що тут, що там. Просто варто не нехтувати повітряними тривогами. І там є пабліки в телеграм-каналах, в яких можна слідкувати за небезпеками в онлайн режимі і спускатись в укриття для того, щоб бути в безпеці.
Who told me about an Italian guy who came here with 2.5 million euros and now he's basically living on the street.
So Thomas, we're here. It almost feels like summer.
Yeah.
2026, but it's actually only spring. It's a crazy weather. We're back in the same spot. What has changed with the investment environment, would you say, since we filmed in December 2025? And what's to look forward to as an entrepreneur here in Ukraine in 2026, from what you can see?
I think, I wouldn't say have changed, but it's more visible for also foreigners. When I talked with you last, I talked about we had established this Danish-Ukrainian business chamber in Kyiv together with DI, Danish Industry Association, which is the biggest association in Denmark. And our opening was in December 24. Danish minister came to open the office and we had 21 companies attend from Denmark. It was the biggest delegation yet at that time to Ukraine. But less than a month ago, there was another new delegation of Danish businesses in Kyiv, and this time it was 53 companies. So the interest from Danish businesses has grown. We see that in the way that last I talked a little bit about the companies we help, now we help even more. We have companies who have established their offices on our premises. We help a lot with translation work and things like that. So we are helping Danish business get along. But I don't see the potential only for Danish businesses, I see it for everybody, and I also see it for Ukrainians. I had an interesting talk only yesterday with a former employee of mine. He's an engineer. He used to be working, actually he's still doing for a huge Danish company that is kind of all over the world, which has some challenges, and they actually decided to close down the Ukrainian side of their business. So I talked with them, obviously, with him about the potential of him working for us, and I got a good picture of the situation. And what is interesting is we both agreed on the situation, which probably is a thing that a lot of Ukrainians focus on, namely, being drafted to the army and things like that. And if I look at the people outside of Ukraine, I see a tendency to more and more Ukrainian coming home despite this being war.
So you would agree that many Ukrainians are now coming back to the country in spite of the fact that we're still at war here?
I mean, I can be cruel and say it like this. The toughest Ukrainians have been here all the time. The number two toughest are just out for a short period of time, and now they are coming back, and the weakest are the ones who will stay outside, of course. So the people coming back is super qualified. We hired a lady called Slava as head of our Kyiv operations about a year ago, and she actually came back from England because she missed Ukraine so much, and she's fantastic. I talked with him about the fact that a lot of men will stay out of the country because they don't want to get drafted. I think it's a natural thing, but I think when war is over and they come home, people would look at them like a little bit like, with due respect, like a second-class citizen. I myself felt it because we do a little bit of defense, and I met with a German guy who's doing defense about 2 months ago in Kyiv. We had a cup of coffee, and he then asked me, Thomas, have you been to the front line? And when I said no, he looked at me like I was some kind of zombie and not really a man. So it's kind of a defining thing that you are here and you're shaping the future. And for me, there's no better place than being here in the middle of this and see how strong, resilient the Ukrainians are and how much they achieve despite these conditions. It's unbelievable.
Excellent. And which cities do you think foreigners who come here should focus on in 2026? What I've outlined is the ones that are further from the front. So here in Odesa, Lviv, Kyiv, Uzhhorod and Chernivtsi. Would you agree with that, or would you think there's somewhere else that should be added in, and what to expect?
I would do it a little bit broader than you, because I think everywhere is potential. Of course, it's like I come from a city of 70,000 people in Denmark, and the wealth in such a city compared to Ukraine is different. So when I meet a Ukrainian city of 70,000 people, it's definitely less developed. But still, the key issue here is the population. And the population is outstanding no matter where you are. If you are in Kyiv, Uzhhorod, Lviv, Odesa, Mykolaiv. I was in Mykolaiv recently, and Denmark has a delegation there. I'm good friend with the head of the delegation, Jacob. And we talk about being Danes here during war, and it was the exact same experience I have. He says that I'm so happy being here. Each day I go to work, it's fantastic because the people is fantastic. And that's exactly the same feeling I have living here. That is the reason I'm staying here. I mean, obviously, I would have less stress being in Denmark, and I'm rich enough, I don't have to work anymore in my life, so it's like not crucial for me where I am. I even considered buying a house down in the south of Italy. But for now, I'm like, no, this is so exciting to experience, and these people are so cool. And I see that the Ukrainians respect me so much for being here that I get all kind of cool job offers, job opportunities. It's exciting being here, and I'm happy being here.
And Mykolaiv, that's special for Danes because the Danish government is involved in the reconstruction of the oblast or the city, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's some years ago, Zelensky succeeded in getting European countries to adapt cities. I think Odesa was actually adopted by France or something like that, not that we see a difference. But Denmark, you know, we are Danes, so if we say we do this, we do it. So Denmark just went all in on Mykolaiv, so they're just improving everything there. They want to make this kind of statement city for Denmark. So obviously money is rolling fast there, which means that investment climate is good for people who is into kind of renewable of electrical system, water supplies, cleaning of waste, a lot of potential. Potential is all over the country. If you take energy, we have been this last weeks we've been investigating on making a wind turbine for somebody, and the wind turbine was to be mounted in Ukraine. We would make all the practical skills, so we found out that the incentives of placing wind turbines in Ukraine is insanely positive. So you actually make a very good business out of making a wind turbine in Ukraine, which of course makes it like, as you say, you can focus on cities, but you can also just focus on land where you have sufficient wind. So it's like, I think it's a country of opportunities, and I have no doubt Ukraine will not lose this war. We can discuss how they win, but they're not going to lose it. And that means that I don't feel that my investments are in danger. But I realize that like all other countries which are poor, once some kind of peace comes, there will be prosperity. So you will have your investment growing, not only because of the normal return of investment, but also because of the kind of logical growth of the country's economics. So it's a win-win situation, so I'm happy to be here. My biggest problem is finding local partners I trust and can do business with, because I cannot overcome everything myself.
Okay, that's great. Out of the 5 cities, which is your favorite? Kyiv, Odesa, Lviv, Uzhhorod and Chernivtsi.
It's like asking if I prefer blondes to brunettes or black hair, you know. They all have their charm. But I would say it like this, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, Odesa, it's a fascinating city, lovely to be in, kind of touristic, will be very touristic after the war. Kyiv is classic old school business, you know. Lviv is the place where everybody from Ukraine goes to have a safe business because they're so far from the front line. Uzhhorod you go because it's totally normal. There is no curfew at all. You just have a normal life. If they're Russians, I don't even think they know where it is on the map, so they don't bomb it at all. Mykolaiv you go because of the investment climate by the Danish government. And actually that's also a city which, since the harbor is not being used, the Russians don't bother to bomb it, whereas they bomb the harbor of Odesa all the time. So, but again, this is the harbor, and we're sitting here in the city center enjoying life about 1.5 kilometers from the harbor, and we are not feeling afraid, you know, so.
So normal life can go on in Ukraine, and there are huge opportunities here. So would you say that the rewards and potential rewards outweigh the risks? For you personally, it seems to be the case. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
You have to be careful, but that's for all business. But it's also like, you know, you're careful, do it right, you find the right people. I would say it like that. 92% of the Ukrainians are the coolest people I ever met in my life. and 2% of them are really bad criminals that like the most criminal people I ever met. So you just have to avoid the 2% and you'll be happy. If you are not too greedy, you feel that the good people are the one who's not focused on greed, but is focused on actually do a difference for you in the work. And those is of course the persons to focus on.
So, come to the end of this video, whether you should consider coming here, whether it's just for a trip or even, understand there's not going to be a huge number of people doing that, but even one of those intrepid people who are considering moving to Ukraine. Hope to see you here someday soon, and that you have a thoroughly enjoyable and enriching trip to this fantastic country, which is in effect defending the rest. So on that note, I will say Slava Ukraini, Rom Slava, do Peremoghi, and have a wonderful evening. Do побачення.